Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Talkin' Town. My name's Adam, and I'm joined today by my constant co-host Steven. Steven, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I got some trading in this week. I didn't get to play too much in person, but I've been practicing here and there. How about you?
Yeah, I'm mostly been playing where I can. Yeah, just trying to figure out what I want to play. Still undecided, so just trying to
Yeah,
figure out what'll appeal to me.
feels like the format's kind of like shaping up to like, are you working for Boba or against him? So, or not Boba, Django.
Tango. Yeah.
Another problem, another Fett. Um, yeah, it. But you did pull a showcase.
I did. Last night I did open another Carbonite box. And I pulled the Boba Fett showcase. So we're building a Boba deck. See, as one has to.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that'll work out. I never really actually tried Boba Yellow out, so
Hey,
we'll see.
I have a feeling he's going to be better as we develop through this set. I think people are going to start to learn that indirect damage, or at least a large portion of it, is going to be an actual threat to 25 HP bases. So
Yeah.
it'll be something to see how it develops. That's our last topic for the day, but we'll get there eventually. In the meantime, last week they announced the Galactic Championship pricing. And did you hear what all that about? And I'll kind of get us over to the screen real quick.
Yeah, see that. It's actually pretty, uh, you know, pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
It makes you just be like, oh man, I'd love to be able to win it all, right? I mean, obviously, only very few people are going to do that well. But man, I'd say for season zero, they're
they're
doing a
going
very good job at.
crazy.
Yeah, they're doing a very good job at what obviously your top 64 and up are getting, along with just kind of your general participation stuff that you're getting round to round. So
Yeah,
that's another benefit.
I just like I saw them when they were announcing this live. I was like, dang it, we like just missed the episode because I think this came out the day that we published episode 4, which you should all go check out if you got the free time. But leave it a like, a comment, subscribe, and all that. Share it amongst your friends, if unless you don't like Jango Fett, which is fine. He's kind of a problem, but hopefully he won't be a problem for Worlds as we continue to dive into this. Man, I've been looking at a few like these tokens right here. We'll keep going through this, but just for playing, every player gets the 3 Galactic Championship packs, which come with let's see if we can find it. This right
Well, the silver
here.
one, yeah, it
Yeah.
comes with the new Han Solo unit, the Ahsoka uh, Ambusher, and then the new Boba Fett from Set 4, along with 3 undisclosed cards.
And then it comes with another set of 6 with the Snoke and the Invisible Hand with 4 more undisclosed cards, which is honestly that Snoke, even if you don't like the prequels or the I can't even remember what it is, not the prequels,
Equals.
the sequels. Thank you. That's a really cool card. I think that's super neat. The Invisible Hand looks great. All the character cards look good. I'm not like a huge fan of characters blocking like their name on the card, but they did these pretty good. So
Yeah, I agree. I think these are all very excellent. They're choosing not just popular characters, but um, you know, rarer cards as well, because everything
yeah,
that they've released so far is at worst a rare, and well, as we've seen by set 4, it can be difficult to accumulate all your rares to begin with.
yeah.
So,
And in
I
this,
do like that.
I mean, right now of the 5 they've shown us, there's 1, 2, 3 legendaries. So that's also really cool. And these are always, I think, as they'll explain in this article going further, is that this is all uh, limited to this event and this event only. So these will be things that you can't get anywhere else. So that'll be really cool. Incentive for people to do better on the day as well. Because if you get, what is this? 12 plus match points is what? 4 wins? Or is it 12 plus as in you need to get at least 12 and up? Or is it 12 and?
12 plus match points would be, you at least getting 4 wins.
Yeah, okay. So then, this would be 5, and then this would be at least 6. So, and 6 and 2 will auto qualify you for day 2, which we'll kind of scroll down as we're going into it. But they have another set of packs exclusive to day 2, the black version, which also another set of incredible looking cards. We'll move back here a little bit. We'll jump onto that. The Ghost, the Executor. Man, that Poe Dameron looks like comic book level art. It's awesome. That Luke looks incredible. What's the other ones? We got Darth Maul and the Falcon. And then we've got 4 undisclosed ones. So hopefully, because there's going to be set 5 stuff thrown in here as well.
Right, and then there's 2 other things that they haven't announced yet either, right? What is it?
Yeah,
is it the?
Yep. Well, day 2 we'll get a soft crate. It looks like, and I think this is a day 2 sleeves, isn't it? Let's see, match points.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. So those are probably going to be sleeves and a soft crate based off of set 5.
I hope it's this logo right here. I think this logo looks fantastic, and I know we get it on some of the cards in this that are like within day 1, 2, and 3. But man, that would be an awesome looking soft crate.
Which logo are you referring to? Because I actually can't see it.
So on the black packs, they've got the logo right there.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think it's also on some of the cards. We'll see. Yep, it's on like the Darth Maul playmat here. So under day 3 prizing, this is where all the cool stuff starts to come out. Looks like they have a top 8, which is actually, I think, all the way to top 32. Everybody will get a Vader, or is it only top 8?
It's only top 8.
It is. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I like the play map more. I don't know about you. I think that pose is super cool. But, to get there and say you have a top 8 alone would be pretty freaking sweet.
Right. I mean, they just all look very, very good. I mean, I think that Vader one is just absolutely crazy, but
yeah. So it looks like they've got more black packs as well, like we had discussed, and then they also have I think another exclusive soft crate for day 3. Maybe it's the same one from day 2, but I'm going to assume it's day 3. If not, something with the Vader branding, because obviously he's really cool.
The other nice thing too is everybody who makes day 3 gets the Vader prize card, even though it won't have a stamp on it.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see right here, Darth Vader prize card. Thank you. 2 mats. You get the Galactic Championship mat, which is the Darth Maul, which is why couldn't that have been I love his regular legendary also, but maybe that's like a Legends of the Force card or something we'll see, or some more art we'll see on a card here in the future. Even if it isn't, it's gorgeous. So
I mean you'll have that art on the black the championship pack black. It's going to be on that alt art.
Oh, okay.
From all. That's what that alt is.
That's right. It is right here. Duh. I forgot. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, this unit can attack. Yep, that is the set 3 one still. Man, there is still so much though. Obviously it scales upwards, so the champion or however many rounds you progress forward, you gain, that round and everything behind you. There's also the lightsaber deluxe promo card box, which is what I'm assuming this right here is. We'll get a lot more details, but the speculation for this is who knows really. the name alone, it's like, all right, what are you doing here? What are you teasing us with? That you know, if there was a goal to chase, it'd be like at least hit day 3, and then after that, whatever you get is just icing on the cake to me. Because obviously, going to win it all is, it's not everybody's dream, but also just playing well is, a step in the improvement direction meter. So, but man, all of this stuff looks so good. And we'll kind of jump into the prize wall here now that we've kind of looked over at least what you can win. These right here, this is what I was looking for. This Krennic and this Super Laser Blast, I love it. I think the art style looks super good. Did you like any of these 4 that they showed?
I do like the Krennic art. I'm just so torn because I like pretty much all the Krennic art they've shown.
They've done him so good.
Yeah, right. It's like I like the art on all of them. I don't know what one I like more.
My least favorite Krennic art is the standard leader, and that's still not bad.
Yeah, right.
So he looks young in that one, but also in this, it's like that's super good. The Razor Crest, and then the well permed Chewbacca over here. Looks like he's like at a campfire telling kids terrible stories. So
yeah, I mean, I know you said you like Super Laser Blast. I don't think it's my favorite. I mean, like it's good art. It just part of it is with a lot of these like events, especially. I always like it when they have a little bit more color design to the aspect that it's associated with, and it just doesn't feel like it does that. So that's kind of where I'm a little out of it.
That almost looks like an aggression card. Like if you took all this blue off, for sure.
Yeah, So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, it's still good art. It's just the art style, I guess, doesn't appeal to me as much.
100% agree with you. As we go through, all right, we've got the Showcase Luke, and I'm assuming the Showcase Vader. These were obviously prize wall stuff that they announced a while back that we can earn at sectors, and I believe at the regional as well. I'm hoping so. We'll get into a discussion here shortly about some prize wall stuff, but hopefully the points on these is reasonable. But I guess we'll kind of.
They said it was 10,000.
Oh, there is a number that was actually sent out. I had no idea if they. We'll have to do some.
FFG announced it, but just to clarify, it's not on the prize. It's only on prize wall for Worlds. You can only
prize wall for Worlds and top 64 result, highest placing leader. You can earn these at sectors and regionals. So just some clarification there. Those are the silver packs we already saw. The cards for those silver packs. Let's just see. Yep. All right. And some people's favorite parts of the game, which I'm sometimes one of them, is just the accessories you can get. They did a nice, decent amount of them. There's plenty more I know that are still waiting to be shown. But like this pilot, these are sleeves. That was Mr. Bones. We've got a Boba Fett. I'm assuming the pilot, not the leader. Maybe it's the leader. That's the Falcon they showed earlier. Oh, sorry. What'd you say?
I can't tell off the Boba Fett. I think it's the new Boba Fett unit.
It might be. Yeah, it might be.
But I can't tell.
This Chimera, that's something fancy. If that's 2,000 points on the prize wall, something I'm gonna try and walk home with. I like the logo still. It shows you were there.
Yep.
I think this is a fantastic playmat. I just love, obviously this is one of the most iconic scenes in all of Star Wars, and I think they did a pretty good job with the mat. So, and they put another Mr. Bones art on a playmat. I like the card. I don't know enough about him, but I know a decent amount. This was a card printed in set 3, right? Yeah.
Mr. Bones?
This.
No, it was.
So we're
sorry, I can't see your screen. So.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. It's I can't remember what it was called, but it's the one with Barriss and Shaak Ti, and then Ayla.
I didn't realize that was a card.
I think it's Synchronized Strike. I can't remember. I do like the art though.
Oh yeah, this is the first time I had even feel like I've seen the mat, and I was like, oh, I actually kind of
Yeah,
like that.
the card is basically useless, but that's okay. The Shuttle Tedirium, beautiful art. I think it's a stunning card done in Prestige. It's a stunning card just overall. I like the Death Star, just looks nice and crisp in the background. And then Spare the Target, which is also a pretty iconic scene from The Mandalorian. I mean, I like them all. I've definitely got my favorites, including like this Chimera looks sick. And then there's also soft gray deck boxes. I'm assuming for most of these, probably not all of them. But yeah, that kind of looks at all the things we've seen so far. If you haven't already in the past, let us know that what you're kind of looking forward to of the things that you've seen here. And we talked very briefly about some of the prize wall stuff. I know in the past episodes as well. At least for this one, we were kind of looking into the sector qualifier, which I'll be going to in about a week and a half, and there's one coming up this weekend over in Milan, and we'll jump into that topic here shortly. But we kind of wanted to touch on some of this because Fantasy Flight Games has kind of gone out and said that a lot of these events are for the players that want to come to this tournament, and even if they don't want to participate in the main event, these are, both entry level, maybe a little bit more casual, maybe a little bit more, also premier, there's something for everybody is what their goal was. I agree that, obviously they've touched on everything. We've got Twin Suns, we've got Sealed, Premier, your standard if you didn't play in the main event or you don't want to play, you just want to continue playing your favorite deck. Spotlight Deck Battle, which is actually kind of cool. You get to run the new decks. And then these just kind of loop throughout the day, including on-demand pods, which is super nice for, you and the friends trying to get together. And if you got like more than 8, this is an easy way to do stuff. What we were going to talk about a little bit is that these have a kind of a strange entry cost to prize distribution ratio. Steven, what did you want to say about this?
So for me, based off of what we know, again, this is prize wall stuff that I think we only have from the for the Galactic Championship. So maybe ticket prices are going to be a little bit lower to get things from the prize wall at those events. But you look at Twin Suns, right? It's $25. Now this is $25 for an event where you provide your own deck. They're not providing any product to you. And you'll have one person that gets 900 tickets, and you get 500, and then 100. So a comparison that we made there is we've been told that like a mat, for example, is going to be 2,000 points.
Yeah.
Or 2,000 tickets to get.
Yep.
So that means that for Twin Suns multiplayer, you'd have to get first and go 2-0, which I mean it's Twin Suns, so that's going to be difficult, since I would say you don't really have the most control in your ability to do that. But you're going to spend $50 and you're going to have only 1,800 tickets, right? So now you're going to have to get another 200 tickets from something, which you could do as participation. But the point being is, like, if you want a mat, you're going to be spending at least like at least $60 just to effectively get a mat, right?
Yeah.
And then and that's Twin Suns. Sure, you're getting 900, but that's not a lot. And then you look at
you're fine. This is what we looked at, and we'll scroll through them here. The highest actual prize distribution, which makes sense because, like you said, this is probably the hardest version of a format to play and consistently win. I think Twin Suns as a whole is just, it's a blast. I love it. Get it. But 900 tickets, if this was a clean 1,000, if each of these was a clean 1,000, then we're kind of looking at a different thing. A mat running you close to $60, assuming you win out, is kind of an interesting way to put things. Because, like, let's look here. this is Premier Constructed, your standard, this is what you're going to the event for to play, basically. In one $25 pod, 3-0 gets 700 tickets. This would essentially cost you $75 to get one playmat off the wall. Now, obviously, everyone's going to have their favorite playmats, so this mileage may vary from person to person, and how much you choose to spend is all completely up to you. But this isn't probably something as easy as people are making it out to be. I assume in the Premier Constructed, if you don't know everybody going into the pod, it's going to be a lot of tryhards, which is completely fine. Just, be prepared that you may not walk away with even 500. You may have spent $25 to walk away with 300 tickets. Well, 400 after participation, but it, let's say you do that right there.
Is the participation in addition to the top?
I'm going to assume so. But even if it is, you're still looking at least 3 of these to pay for one mat, and no matter how you do the math. Because it would be 8 plus 8, and then you would just need to, go 1 and 2 and one more participation. So it's $75 basically all the way around. Now, bang for your buck, the Spotlight deck battle actually sounds pretty cool. I think the Boba Fett Spotlight deck is actually kind of cracked. The cards that come in it, plus you get the pack, plus you get the deck. You'll get 300 prize wall tickets per round. There's 3 rounds. I don't think it's a win here.
It doesn't.
If this
does.
No, it doesn't. That's kind of
doesn't even say single elimination. Like some of these say single elimination, which is
this might just say play, and that's it.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe they're doing that because obviously it's listed as this is, tailored towards newer players, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the unfortunate side effect is if you're a ticket grinder and you're trying to get the most value out of it, like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like this entry is $40. You're getting a Spotlight deck, which MSRP is what, $25.
Yep.
So you're paying $15 now to get a guaranteed 900 tickets.
Yeah, and the Spotlight decks do come with one pack, so there's that just too. That if you haven't played with these before or done an event with these before, maybe suggesting running one of these at least of the Spotlight deck battle is probably the most like points for your buck guaranteed no matter what. And then after that, it's scrounging together 2 other ways, because it's still, unfortunately, at 900, you're not going to be able to figure out how to get even another 1100 from something else. The Twin Suns continue throughout the day. Here is Sealed, which, depending on how many packs we're talking, which I'm assuming it's an average of 6, 3-0 still only puts you at 7 plus another one. So, you're paying $25 to play the event and then $25 for 6 packs, which is basically the normal stuff. But, this is sometimes someone's favorite format. I would also not suggest this for the idea of like trying to be consistently getting tickets unless you think you are a draft king. So,
yeah, it just feels like I don't know, the balance just seems a little off, because for your average person, if you're literally going to the event to grind side events, right? Maybe you're not the biggest competitive person. This is going to be a big hit on your wallet, because like, I mean, let's say maybe you are just going there to do tickets most of the time, right? So you do an on-demand Premier Constructed tournament. Well, first of all, it's single elim, so the moment you get eliminated, you probably can hop into a new pod.
Yeah.
That's only $15, but think about that. You're doing that.
It also says under these. I'm so sorry. It also says in these on-demands, just to note out, there is no payout in tickets for 1 to 2s and 2 to 1s. Because there could also be another 2-1 in a finalist pod.
Well, it's single elim for these on-demand.
Oh, sorry.
You lose one, you're out.
Yeah, so that would probably actually be your worst bang for your buck, wouldn't it?
It depends. I mean, like if you can get second at least every time, then I mean, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world, but Yeah, this is obviously something you can easily grind, but if you're doing this and if you're getting second each time, so you're playing out 3 rounds, you can probably run what 3 of these a day potentially. So that's $45 a day,
Yeah.
and you still only have received 900 tickets out of it for the whole day, and then
Yeah.
you do that each day for 3 days,
It would
and
have,
so now you're at
yeah.
100 and what,
For
$5.
$5 less than running 3 of these, you could just run uh the spotlight deck battle and guarantee 900.
Yeah, and the fact that it's $15, and the tickets aren't worth more. Like, you're not getting more for this. Like, you're giving less payout to all those people. So like, if you're like, let's look at the Twin Suns multiplayer, right? So you're at $25. This is for, again, 8 people. So it's $200 in the pool for Twin Suns, and you're handing out a total of, let's say participation does also apply to your 900, your 500, etc., right?
Yeah.
So, that's what is that? That's 1,000. This would be, so 1-1 would be, how many people would go 1-1?
I don't I
That'd be 5, right? No, that'd be
how do you, to determine who is 1-1 in Twin Suns? I don't understand that, because that means you either won a draft and then lost everything else. So like, do you play 2 rounds with the same group of 4? Like, that must be it, because then you're technically 1-1 getting second. If you win 2 rounds of one pot of 4, you can go 2-0, and then everyone
well,
else is.
I'd assume it's still 8, because you would do one pod with that 4, and then you'd have 2 people that would be undefeated, and well, maybe you do, but like, there's no guarantee to make it 2-0. There's no guarantee to go 2-0.
Yeah, that's where this one gets a little. Then if the only guarantee is one person winning both rounds, maybe they'll explain more about this like there or sooner, which I would kind of hope so. But there's definitely some clarifications. But I also think that the numbers on payouts of these, they're trying to. It feels like that 3rd round that you need to get out of all of these just to get like a playmat feels like a little reach into the pocket kind of deal.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of it, but also we'll see, because I obviously know that there's plenty of players who will probably show up to do just these, and I hope that they leave thinking that they got their bang for their buck, their time was well spent, and if they're looking for prize wall stuff, that they find a way to get it. I'm not like saying hand it out, everybody, FFG, just give it away, but like, this doesn't show like a lot of, I'll just say accessibility, I guess. This shows like you have to spend at least $75 to get yourself a playmat.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, just going back into dollar ticket values, for this on-demand Premier Constructed, it's $15. You'll have 8 people, so that's $120 that gets put into the pool to get 1,000 tickets across those 8 people. So, and then as opposed to like this Twin Suns, which that's, I mean, you're there. I'm assuming that it's 8 people again. Like, I'm pretty sure, because it says 2 rounds, and so I'd assume it would be 8 people. I mean, if it's a pod, all these other pods are 8 people, right? So then
yeah.
you'd have at least 800 tickets for that, and then, I mean, honestly, that payout seems even worse than the on-demand Constructed. But I mean, obviously, your ability to get more tickets quicker is better.
Yeah, for those who are just trying to like either like hunt for one specific thing on the wall, or like, if you're not caring and you don't, like the money that you're spending to play isn't that much of a deal, but like some players may only have, a couple hours depending on how well they do in the main tournament, how well they do the second day, or maybe they're only, like coming in to see the event, It'll be truly an experience to observe when I'm there. Be like, all right, how well did these function? Do I see like rows of tables going back of like players just grinding out these match tickets, which I hope there are. I just don't know if I either agree with the prize payout or the money or both, and hopefully, they'll either notice that with the start of this one, or they won't. Which is just it's going to come down to how the community receives it. So, did you have any other concerns or issues with the some of kind of like what we're looking at here?
No, I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Okay, I'm glad we were able to talk about that though. You had mentioned it to me that this was their what was kind of going on, and we'll get back to the main here. All right, yeah, I closed. We're back on the main menu now. You can.
Yep, I can see again.
You're good. Yeah, I had mentioned, or that you had mentioned it to me that you had talked about it, and I was like, we should at least address it just to see if other people feel the same way. If it is a bigger issue, then I guess we'll kind of learn about it. That should wrap that up, and we are going to be talking about the Bothan Invitational that's coming up this weekend and the Milan sectors. Do you know much about what's going on for the Bothan tournament?
To my understanding, it's what effectively a 10K tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they have a 10K prize pool paid out over 3 days for 3 different tournaments, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually going to be really neat. They're putting on a 3v3 teams competition Friday, and then I believe there's 2 main events, one on both Saturday and one on Sunday, that are both locked, I think, at 128 players. But I think Frank, the one of the big guys over at, if not the biggest guy at the Bothan network team, they're putting on a mostly creator invite tournament for all this. Is kind of what they're doing. I'll be curious to see how the meta shapes up and if people are willing to play like their meta cards right before sectors or right before this developing meta. Do you have any like predictions about what's going to come out from this? Do you think Django is going to be just the dominant force, or do you think people have already built decks to be resilient to what it does?
I think it depends on what people's plans are, right? Because if you're a person that's going to the Bothan Invitational and you're planning on going to the sector in Denver, I feel like it's potentially likely that you are you're intentionally not trying to play whatever extra spicy thing you've been cooking up for the last 3 weeks or so. So I feel like you're probably going to get a little bit more of a standard event. But on the other hand, you probably have a bunch of people that are not going to Denver. They're probably not. They might go to Richmond, but that's a little ways out. So maybe they do go with something that they've been playing around with a little bit more. Something that
There's a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of money on the line. So I personally, I think for the most part, it is going to be very. I'm expecting it to be mostly vanilla. I don't think we're gonna see anything too crazy because I feel like a lot of probably most of the people that cooked up something crazy are likely going to also go to Denver because they have so much more time that they spend on the game. They're likely, creators. They probably are just going to event after event, right?
Yeah.
So
the competitive
I think
teams.
It'll be a little bit, the competitive team. So like this is what they do. So I think this one might be a little bit more vanilla. We're gonna see a lot of the traditional decks. I don't, for example, see at the Bothan someone coming out with a Piet blue deck that just completely crushes the competition, or like a Palp yellow deck or whatever it may be that just comes out of the woodwork. I mean, I could totally see that happening in Milan,
Yeah.
not so much the Bothan Invitational.
I would love to say it would happen, but I agree with you. I think if you have a silver bullet right now, well, the money is nice, which I'm never gonna not say, a prize of $6,000 isn't nice, or whatever the several $1,000s is. But some people just are in it for doing well at the FFG event, which means obviously, you get top 8 at sector, and you're just like you won a PQ, you get to auto qualify for day 2 of Worlds, which is huge. Your silver bullet might be more important there, but I do hope we see some spice this weekend. Milan, we might see something, but at least at the Invitational, I'll be curious to see like what the level of competition looks like. Obviously, they're all very competitive players, but how many cards are going to be withheld in regards to like, do you have the answer to Django? Is it
and just even specific tech cards, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
there might be a list that's playing a card that that people think is very good, but they may hide it for this week. Maybe not. Who knows? But again, it's also just interesting with the Invitational because since you're playing against a more targeted audience, you're not worrying about necessarily at a sector where you're running into who knows what.
Yeah.
Just because the field is going to be a lot more variety, just from a deck perspective, as well as what kind of player you're playing against.
Yeah. I think at this Invitational, you're going to have some of the best players in the game, at least on, in North America, all in one spot. For those who could make it. So even if this is just their standard version of a list and not their teched out for the full meta, then what we're going to see is both good play and maybe spice. But, I'm excited either way. At Milan, I'm expecting both. I'm expecting that if people have found a silver bullet to, Django's hype, then this is the weekend to do it. At the end of the format, too much of the general population probably have rotated into either dealing with Django decks if he hasn't been banned or taken care of that way, and this might be your against the grain style to play this weekend. I'm hoping the stream is not too early in the morning, but we'll see. I might have to do some live watching.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what happens in Milan because everyone knows that Europe likes their control. So
Yeah.
I'm not shocked if we just get some really weird top 64 out of that event because people just aren't playing, their aggro decks because I think by default because those aggro decks are just less popular in general, it opens up your ability to play some of these other decks, like the Palps or maybe the greedy Piets or whatever it may be, because you don't have to worry about either the Sabine or you don't have to worry about maybe some of these more aggro new leaders like the Kazuda, the Poe, these things that if you're not prepared for them, will beat you.
Yeah. There's in this game currently, I mean, you look at Han Yellow is both a control deck in the regards to the other 4 prevalent meta decks, but you have Sabine, you have Quinlan, you have Django, Boba Fett is now Rising Star, and oh my gosh, who am I forgetting? You've got Quinlan, Django, Han, Sabine, and Piet. Yes, and Piet is your biggest deck to like play out the 10, 9, 12, whatever cost spaceship that you want to play that turn. But those other 4 decks, they don't slow down until they play each other. And if I saw a Palpatine across the table from me right now while I'm playing Django or Sabine, it's like I can take a kind of a sigh of relief. But if they decide to learn how to prove otherwise, that they need to remind me, then you know what? That'll be kind of cool. But if that's going to happen somewhere, it's going to happen in Milan. So fingers crossed, maybe we see some spice. But, I have a feeling the aggro decks are going to run the top tables for a little while. And then we'll see how top 8 chops out,
Yeah. I mean, if you had to guess, what do you think the I'm gonna split up the two events.
mhm.
So what do you think is gonna be the winner and then the most represented deck in Top Cut for each event?
Ooh, I think for Milan and the Invitational, at least for the main event, yeah, for the Invitational, I think it's going to be Django. I think that I I the deck is just across the board in all of our testing, and I think the general consensus for the community is that this deck is uh it is truly built different. Where on curve, it's capable of playing some of the best units in the game, some of the best finishers in the game, the most exhaust board control, a very fast deploy. It's got everything, and I won't I won't say it's anything, but basically once the results come out, and if they do, that this deck is like the best deck, then I would hope that a ban is around the corner. But I guess we'll just have to see. You know, how do you
Um,
feel?
I think at the Bothan, I think Han Yellow is going to be probably the biggest
That's good.
winner.
That's fair.
Just because again, we're going to have some of the best players there, and Han Yellow in the hands of the best players, I think is
Yeah.
just a much better deck than we give it credit for. I
Yeah.
think Django will still see the most representation and the see the most tops, but I think Han Yellow is probably more likely going to be the higher placer, um,
I could see
either
that
getting
too.
first or just what they're people specifically getting into like top four, for example.
Yeah.
And then in Milan, see Milan's tough because uh, you want to accommodate to the control meta. Um, I it's hard to say. I think Milan's going to come out and there's going to be a deck that wins that we just weren't expecting. I think it's going to be either like an Iden or a Kira deck that just randomly comes out and wins.
Are you
Just
saying double blue Iden?
it'd be double blue item.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kira, you
If
think
I had
green?
to guess, yeah, Kira Green would be the other one. I think
Man,
that's
some.
just
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I'm just reiterating. I think something weird like that'll happen. Just because I've resigned to understand how that area of the world works.
That's fair. They've got their own spin on things with 54 card decks, and but I got to give it credit to them. You know, some of their innovations just decide to like remind us that there is more to what we see and play against, and that there is people out there who are willing to test and play test and grind until that they have found a line that will win those matchups, like, you know, 7, 8 out of 10 times. So um with all of this discussion into testing, though, I think it would be kind of a good way we can segue into our next topic here, where we had a viewer submission last week from Marcus. I can't remember his YouTube profile name, so excuse me. But basically, he asked us, during the feedback, was how to sideboard. And I think this would be a good time to discuss it because basically all we've been doing is studying and that's what we will do this weekend, moving into this, this season of the game. Sideboarding in, as a preface, or at least it's, TLDR, is this is an extension of your 60 card pool, and you need to remember that it is a tool that you will be using at least one game, hopefully. And your 50 card deck, or whatever, thermal oscillator or whatever version of things, is still attributed to those that sideboard pool, and that sideboard pool will win you games more often than you realize if you are willing to learn how to use it. Steven, what's your most like experience, or at least like the thing you remember most using a sideboard previously?
I mean, me personally, I'm gonna kind of take a detour here. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if people are familiar with, say set one or set two. I think is more so when it happened as opposed to set three. But you notice when you had some of these random like double blue control decks that would just come out and then they'd win the event. But when people were, describing how their event went, they'd say, "Oh, I lost game 1." And then they would
Hmm.
come back and 2-0. So, obviously that's a little bit more beneficial to those control decks because they need to tailor their, strategy to counter or survive long enough. But that's really the main element of that, right? It can swing that matchup so significantly that you are effectively only playing for post sideboard games,
Yeah.
right? I mean, again, that's 2/3 of the games you ideally are playing,
Hmm.
and so even if you lose 100% of your game ones, if your games 2 and 3 work out great, then awesome.
Yeah, I think the margin swing that you should be expecting, or not expecting, I guess, in some matchups, but like the margin swing that it gives you is just one of the most important things you should learn about a competitive standpoint of this game. Going into, we'll use this weekend as a good example. If I'm guessing that everything is going to be a Han Yellow, a Sabine, and I'm playing Django, a high consideration that I have is should I put main or should I put Force Choke, the 2 for 5 damage in my sideboard or my main board for the weekend? Currently, I would say main board. I think the card is fantastic. It deals with 5 health units very efficiently. Even if they get to draw, it upsets the Bamboozle Brothers of DJ Tech from absolutely blowing me out of game. So I paid 2 to just continue participating. And I'm not saying, Django already has a decent matchup in the Han, but, does this card make the difference if it isn't in your main board in the game 2 and game 3 if it gets that far? And I think, yeah, there's a lot of cases where this is the way this should be approached. Do I need a heavy Sentinel space? Do I need Concord Dawns? Do I need, previously Bright Hope was a sideboard or mainboard card in a lot of hero aggression ECL decks, mostly Sabine. And then Sabine realized, I think mainboarding 2 Bright Hopes became a thing for a while in the last PQ meta. During your PQ tournament that you won, was there sideboards that were important to you that, looking back on it, being like, this was I turned a matchup that was even into slightly favorable?
A matchup that was even to slightly favorable. I feel kind of the way that I approached my PQ experience is I identified the decks that were A, good matchups, B,
Mhm.
bad matchups, and then lost causes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
um, so for the good matchups, you typically don't need to side anything and account for them. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of strategy where you need to counter side,
Mhm.
but I'll leave that alone. Then you address your bad matchups. So what bad matchups can you actually address to make winnable? And and then obviously you have your lost cause matchups where you're basing this off of the pool of what you think you're going to run into, right? So like certain
Yeah.
decks you're like, well, I'm gonna almost always lose this matchup, right? So me as a a Ray Tarkentown player is what I played at PQs.
Mhm.
If I run into Palpatine of really any color, more likely than not, I lose that matchup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not saying always, but
No.
it's very difficult to win that matchup even post sighting.
Mhm.
But the benefit with some of these elements too is what crosses over, right?
Yeah.
So you have to do a blend of, okay, these are the good matchups, or maybe they're very even matchups. Uh what what can I put in to significantly improve my win rates, and then the bad matchups, what can I make positive, what can I even out? And and you also have to find the crossover of what what's good against these various styles of decks.
Mhm. That, like
Because
like being the Sentinel suggestion, it's like, how many
right, it's like,
Sentinels can I,
okay,
you know, or
Right. So if I'm
ambush.
against
Can I?
aggro, it's a
Mhm.
little bit easier, in my opinion. Like if you're playing against aggro, it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, these are the things that I can do against aggro. Mid range, E kind of decks, or maybe decks that like do a lot of bouncing or affect your hand. Things you have something for that, and then you have control. I feel like control can sometimes be a little bit more tricky, just because um, you
Yeah.
might be able to deal with a regular control deck, but Palpatine, for example, just has just a slightly different
Yeah.
element, right?
Is
Um,
that ace control where it's like
right.
he's just so tall, and if they get there and you can't figure out how to close the game, that's especially into like what you were suggesting, your Ray Mirror or your Ray Tarkentown deck. But like some of the cards you would sometimes throw in still swing that matchup. Like if you weren't playing 3 K2SOs or you weren't mainboarding 3 pillages, you did have ways to interact with hand hate that would at least bring the edge up for you a little bit, even if it wasn't modifying a full, like even if it changed it from a 30 to a 40% win ratio. That's odds that you're taking into that next game, 2 or 3. So
Yep.
I mean, there's also a whole discussion about sideboards in regards to how do you start with your main deck in the beginning of the tournament. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this, it's like, all right, so Force Choke is a fantastic example. Do I approach the tournament with Force Choke in my main, or do I approach it from my side? And if I'm approaching it with it out in my main, is my deck built to handle still a decent game 1 into a variety of matchups? Because like if that 2-card spot or 3-card spot, however many, is vital for me to create like a level playing field against all matchups except for maybe like 2, then I'm still establishing that my deck is ready to play against the board, but will get better post board or post sideboard. Now, I think that was your approach mostly also as well, if I'm not correct. You ran multiple copies of 2s or multiple copies of 1s that post board you would modify those up or down. Is that not mistaken?
Yeah, so at least me personally, the way that I typically try to address it is I want to form as normal of a baseline for the main deck to have the most uh, just a good matchup against as many decks as possible.
Yeah,
And
across the board.
then as for me, I'm gonna just rely on being able to play better than my opponent at that point.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get it to at least that 40 to 60 range and have player skill account for the rest of it. But so the result of that is I did run a lot of 2-ofs. Again, I was playing a little bit more of a mid-range deck. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't, since I feel like I'm a little more reactive in a lot of those cases,
Yeah.
then uh then sorry, I lost my train of thought. It
You're
was
fine.
so since I'm a little bit more reactive in a
Yeah.
lot of those cases, I can just resource, cards that I just really dislike in a matchup, or uh, or maybe there's a unique scenario where it works. But yeah, post sideboard, I'm siding in third copies of a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, K2SO is one. Um, maybe side in, an extra Sentinel,
I think you
side
did.
in.
You did Jedi lightsaber too, when a matchup that you felt like you could go a little bit harder, where Rey could actually, reliably attach and swing easier than, previously, where now it might just get tapped down by Django. But like, it's it's the information you gain from game 1 and game 2 is very important to think about that 10 cards, especially like in your case, you were playing very reactionary. There's also cases where it's like sometimes you're looking at a different tool to hit them harder. So like Sabine runs Poe and Wrecker. In this current space and time, I hope they don't print another card that's on those 2 cards as levels for hero aggro. But if they printed another one, you're now entertaining the space of like, actually Django's a great description for this again, which is probably part of the problem. There is Django decks not running Fett's Fire Spray, and there's 3 6-drop cards that are all fantastic. You have Juggernaut, you have Fett's Fire Spray, and Ruthless Raider. If you wanted to, in one essence, you could say these are all 3 different things that I could run for different archetypes to play against. Ruthless Raider could be your anti-control 6-drop. Juggernaut could be your anti-go wide 6-drop, and Fire Spray could be like your closer. Currently, however many you want to run in the main board, and then however many you want in the sideboard could be completely swapped out. I could run 3 base starting with Ruthless Raider, and then if I said, all right, I need 2 Fett's Fire Sprays, let me throw those in, take out Raiders. Now, I'd never do that for that case, but this is an example that those extra 10 cards are there to modify a matchup and at least obviously get you your desired outcome. But, it takes a lot of studying sometimes to understand how a card is actually affecting your point A to point B. All 3 of those cards really don't change much for Django. I would like to hit the Fett's Fire Spray the least when I TDR, but it's still a great card to hit. That's still 5 damage on their base. So,
right, it's just a matter of what cards are doing the most for you. So, when you do go in, you have to identify, okay, how do I win against this matchup?
Yeah.
And then post side, you're like, what enables me to do that more, or alternatively, what disables your opponent from achieving their win condition the most. So it's it's a very complicated game for sure, because you're having to account for the matchup itself. You're having to account for what do I expect to see and play against a lot. What am I willing to just drop a match to? Because every event that you go to, you're never unless you're on some crazy tier 0 deck that probably is just mostly beating itself.
Yep.
Not much else can beat it. You're having to concede somewhere, and you just have to be like, oh, I can't beat this deck, but okay, if you're going to see this deck one time in the tournament, you just go, okay, that'll be my 1 loss for the tournament.
Yeah. And you know what? That's sometimes enough for you to get to top cut no matter what. Be prepared. Be prepared that there might be an auto loss you hit, and play for the things that you can do well into, and then play for the things and sideboard for the things that may sway those ones that you're not sure of into a better scenario. So,
yep, it's the mindset of what are you going to the tournament to do? It's never realistic to say I'm going to go to the tournament to win. Nope. It's because you have to go, okay, I'm going to play for top cut, and because you're playing against the field, right? You're making a decision to play against the field, and once if you achieve that goal of, okay, I've made top cut, at that point it's really kind of a matchup luck game, right? I mean, sure there is nuance to that, but if you just happen to hit that bad matchup in top cut that is a little niche, well,
does it suck? Oh yeah.
Unlucky. Yeah.
But at the same time, on the other end, someone else out there is getting their free wins all the way to the finals.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the formats of card games. But I do appreciate that this game does have a sideboard. I think I'll never be able to kind of enjoy or play another game like I have in the past where I didn't have one, because I think that swing that it generates sometimes is so interesting that because you're both playing the mind game of like, all right, Steven, how many K2SOs were you running? How many are you running now? What do I have to figure out? While you're modifying your deck, so am I. So,
and it's a matter of, because until you get to top cut, of course, where you get to see each other's deck lists, it's like, okay, well, what is this person going to side? And then you're also thinking of, well, what does this person take out in the side, right?
Yeah.
So, another just piece of advice with sideboarding is, again, make sure you're understanding when you're siding. You're not putting cards in your side because they're good in a matchup. You are putting cards in to adjust your deck, which means you also have to know what to take out of your deck.
That's the hardest part.
Right, you need to
Yeah,
understand, okay,
yeah,
this goes in, this goes out.
yeah,
Because you don't want to run into a situation if you put your sideboard together, you go to the event, and you're like, okay, I want to put in these 5 cards, and then you realize, oh my goodness, I don't have 5 cards to take out.
yeah.
This is
And then you're
already
panicking, and it's like,
yeah,
this is where you're
exactly.
studying, this is where your understanding of everything that's going on in this tournament, or not even in this tournament, but in this match, comes down to like, truly, did I prepare enough? And that's not saying that, the cards you take out are necessarily bad ones. I'm just saying that, like, you'll learn through a good enough practice that those lines should not be always altered, so that when you hit that card that you need to change a matchup, it hasn't changed the fundamentals of how you get to that point in the first place. So, like, if I throw a Force Choke in my deck to deal with Tech and DJ, I'm still also giving away the fact that between turns 1 through and 4, I'm missing a unit on the board through those turns. But I have to continue to play the game, whether I like, whether or not it continues to go well after that. So it's like, I sided this in, I have a use case for it. It doesn't come up in this match, so I just, tuck it away for a resource for another day. But I was ready, and I prepared, and I studied, and I took out the card that I didn't need. And as hard as that may be, it increases your overall percentage of, like, winning a game and doing well. I probably, 5, 10%, 15%, if you're really good at understanding what people are bringing to a bigger tournament and a local tournament,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think typically with a sideboard, I think your goal is you want to swing the matchup in your favor about 10% post sideboard, on average. I think that's usually the numbers that you're looking for, and if it swings more than that, I mean that's
yeah, that's pretty wild.
you know at that point it may be a consideration of just mainboarding it, right?
Yeah,
Again, it just depends what you think you're going to be playing against most of the event, but uh, I think 10%. I mean, maybe 5 to 10% most of the time, because you also have to account for them sideboarding. But I think you're usually looking for 10%, if not a little less, is what you're hoping to swing in your favor, based off of
yeah, large sums
yeah.
of testing, basically. So I hope that was a good answer for you. We, it's been something in the last couple of weeks I've tried to get a much stronger understanding of, as I, like, analyze what's going on in at least the meta as a whole. This weekend with the Invitational in Milan, we'll kind of get a better scope of how to prepare, hopefully. Obviously, sectors means the country's split in half. If you got, Denver, and then your West Coast and your East Coast, basically. Not Denver's on the coast, but this is how they're doing it. There's a lot of, all right, well, what are players playing in the local meta? And it's like, those things are kind of out of your control. But like, if I were to say, if I was prepping for a tournament in my local meta, not like the local meta of Denver, then I can actually very easily prepare for that. It's like, I know who's kind of been on what deck, and if it's worth it, the effort to you to do so, then by all means. But yeah,
And it's beneficial too, because with the local meta, not only do you know what decks you're likely to see, you probably have a better indication of what players you might see.
yeah, that's true too.
And when I say players, I mean, well, you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to play this deck, and I know these players are not necessarily playing this deck, but these are the ones that I know I'm always playing in, round 2, round 3, towards the end of the event,
Yeah,
and such. So you may have to almost side for the player as opposed to the deck at a certain point.
I
I know
for
that
one
sounds maybe
accept
a
our
little weird
Daniel
because you have to account
overlords.
for yeah. So and that's, I mean, you have to account for their deck as well, but
Yeah,
you may just be like, oh well, I'm gonna see a lot of this deck, but I'm not gonna side for it because I think I can just win that in my local field regardless, and then I'm gonna deal with um, something that I'll probably play later in the event.
that's fair. This doesn't say you should always uh play what you want to. Like, there's just because we say, like, most of these regards to hyper meta decks, it's like your sideboard can make a difference even in other versions of like the silver bullet decks built to beat Django. If one exists, like the sideboard for that deck better be wild. That's all I'm saying. Because once either the Django catches on to your play patterns for game 2, then you must be ready to, to throw it right back at him, because the game is going to continue to change. Within that single best of 3, you may play 3 different total games if the sideboards are committed that big enough, But yeah, I think that was just a nice little overview. Maybe we can make like some kind of separate video one day, at least going into a nice description about it a little bit more. I think it's definitely a very deep dive topic if you'll let it be, especially if you can start breaking down exactly why some cards are included. But yeah, you got any last comments for it?
I think that's something we could potentially do, like, after events this weekend. We'll be able to see the list, and then we can also compare to the sideboard. And then not saying that we'll be correct, but we'll be able to say, oh, okay, these cards seem to be applicable in these matchups to help this to help in this matchup. So
I think one that, like, if I were to say leave for someone to watch out for right now, is like, think of Commandeer and just watch this weekend to see between both tournaments what players are running Commandeer main deck and side deck. And if you're familiar with them being like a higher level player, then what spot that lands in between main deck and side deck will probably be a major deciding factor for some matchups. I mean, there's a whole
one that I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I think Electromagnetic Pulse is also a very interesting one.
I think EMP it'll make its way into the meta as well. Like if Django and Boba and all these space oriented decks continue to be a nuisance.
And Champs and Dula could be fun.
Yeah, and Cham. We did a little discussion on Cham last week. I think he could definitely find a place. I've seen him in Django. I've seen him in Sabine. I've seen this dude. If you're playing red and you expect a lot of Han, he can be a play. So, but yeah, I think that's a good spot to end this one on, or topic. Sorry. And then our last bridge of the night, which will just be kind of a shorter one. We'll wrap this up here shortly. We are somehow at another turn in this game where another Fett is kind of rearing his ugly face. I think Boba Fett might be a little slept on, and I think that some of the content creators that covered it this week did a fantastic job showing what it is, but B, this might be one of those things that people were looking for to help deal with Django. And if that means it's prevalent enough to beat Django and often, then hopefully its other matchups can be shored up through the use of like sideboards and all that. But I would not keep Boba Fett off your radar anymore. Like, I think at the beginning of the set, he was kind of, I mean, everybody thinks like sometimes the starter decks are always just kind of but I think in this regard, he might be something to watch out for. How do you feel?
I definitely think that you're going to be seeing a decent amount of him. He's probably going to be at least 5% of the field at. I mean, I don't want to necessarily say for Bothan or Milan, but like if I had to take a guess at like Denver, for example, in 2 weeks, who knows? Things could change because of what we see at the events this weekend. But I'd say at least 5% of the field would be Boba. Because
that's a big number.
It is a very big number, and I think part of that too is because you probably have a bunch of people that are playing Django, Boba Fett. If you play the yellow variation, which I'd say would be the most popular, is very similar to Django, but it's obviously more aggressive to finish the game quicker. So it's just that kind of additional element of I want to be different, but I still kind of want to do the same thing. And
just some quick notes about what it does differently too is that obviously 30 HP base, it gives you that breathing room that Tarkin Town doesn't. Although I like Tarkin Town just as a card in general, I think that 30 HP has historically always been like, all right, there's the phases of a meta. and Tarkentown will, your aggressive decks will come out of the gate, and we'll see what happens after they stick, and then how it continues to evolve into the pillars of, mid-range and tempo, and then does it go even taller into soft control and hard control. I think this will be our, can Boba be faster than some of these decks? Can it also survive? I think it does have some kind of a damage overload aspect that players need to be aware of in regards to hopefully not getting blown out by indirect. But you know what? If it calms people down in regards to how the Jango Menace is into the overall meta, then that will be also interesting. But yeah, I think it's just something to watch out for. Mostly important. What do you? Any final thoughts for that one?
No, I'm sure we'll see like a Boba Fett here or there in a top cut.
It'll make that showcase you pulled even cooler.
Yeah.
Also, side note, did you see Jango Fett showcases? There's been a lot of market manipulation going on lately, but Jango Fett showcases for $700.
Getting into Boba Fett.
Yeah.
From Set 1 territory now. Yeah, that is. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? It almost makes so much sense that I could see it being banned at some point. But that'll be remain to be seen. So
one can hope.
One can hope. Fair. I don't blame you. I am on the giving end of this terrible exchange right now. But once Denver's over, I'm gonna take a nice bath and like cleanse myself of this deck for a little while. It's got its unhealthy patterns for sure. So if you got nothing else for us, I think we can wrap it on up. You got any last words?
If you're going to the Bothan Invitational, good luck. I know that it's mostly content creators, but it's still an event. Enjoy
big.
Yourself. Yeah, win big. And if you've reach out to us if you have any extra information you want to provide based off of field or anything like that. We're glad to hear it. We can discuss it next week.
Yeah, we'll have one more episode before Denver, and then once Denver's over, we'll probably do a wrap up, and we'll kind of be talking about how things go all the way up to regionals. I mean, obviously there will be more sectors to cover, but we'll get to prepping for that for those who are going, and just kind of a look into the future with some of the content we kind of have planned. And also, if you look out on Friday, I'll have another Carbonite pack dropping. So like, comment, subscribe, please, for that, and kind of share with your friends. We're trying to get the podcast out to as many people, as many eyes, and hope that everyone enjoys it. It sounded like, based upon everyone's feedback last week, everyone's really digging what we're doing here. So, which I hope you are too, Steven.
Yeah. I know. I hope I was, I don't look too grumpy right now, but I guess my last thing is give the people what they want and see if is the doggo still there.
Oh yeah, he's still sleeping. So
there you go.
I'm gonna let him sleep. He'll be loud here very shortly. But yeah. You guys take it easy. We'll kind of catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.